While the Roman Empire had long ceased to exist by the time Genghis Khan rose to power in the 13th century, the echoes of Roman influence persisted in European civilization, particularly through the Byzantine Empire and the Latin West. However, the fear associated with Genghis Khan was not rooted in direct Roman confrontation. Instead, it stemmed from the sheer scale of his conquests, the existential threat he posed to European stability, and the legacy of Roman territorial ambition, which made them sensitive to the notion of an unstoppable force like the Mongol Empire. Genghis Khan, born Temujin, united the fractious Mongol tribes in the early 13th century and unleashed a wave of military campaigns that spanned Asia, the Middle East, and parts of Eastern Europe. By the time of his death in 1227, his empire was the largest contiguous land empire in history. His reputation as a ruthless yet strategic leader preceded his armies. For Europeans who inherited Roman ideals of order and control, the Mongols' rapid expansion represented chaos and a terrifying breakdown of the known world. Though the Romans and Genghis Khan never directly coexisted, the later Byzantines, who considered themselves the true heirs of Rome, faced indirect consequences of Mongol expansion. The Mongols' incursions into Eastern Europe during the mid-13th century, particularly under Genghis Khan's descendants, brought destruction to regions like Hungary, Poland, and the Balkans. For Europeans who still looked to Roman traditions of governance and military might, the Mongols seemed like a force that even Rome at its peak would have struggled to repel. Roman writings, preserved through the Middle Ages, emphasized the value of civilization over barbarism. Genghis Khan and the Mongols were often painted as the ultimate barbarians, echoing the Roman fear of nomadic peoples, like the Huns and Goths, who had contributed to the Western Roman Empire's fall. The Mongols' military tactics, swift cavalry attacks, psychological warfare, and use of advanced siege weapons, seemed otherworldly to Europeans. They struck fear not only because of their efficiency, but also due to their unpredictability, a trait the Romans historically dreaded in their adversaries. This fear of the unknown was amplified by the limited understanding of the Mongols in Western Europe. Early accounts of their campaigns, such as those from missionaries or envoys like John of Plano Carpini, often described them in almost apocalyptic terms. The Mongols were seen as a scourge sent by God, a perspective rooted in the Roman tradition of viewing invaders as divine punishment. The Romans prided themselves on their ability to assimilate conquered peoples into their system of governance. Genghis Khan, however, flipped this paradigm. His empire did not seek to impose a single cultural or religious framework. Instead, it operated as a network that allowed diverse peoples to coexist under Mongol rule. While this approach allowed the Mongol Empire to thrive, it also presented a stark contrast to the Roman ideal, making the Mongols seem alien and fundamentally different. Moreover, the Roman Empire had always feared challenges to its status as the dominant power. The Mongols, like earlier threats from Parthians, Huns, or Sassanids, embodied a rival that could overshadow the legacy of Rome's universal ambition. The speed and scale of Mongol conquests would have been unthinkable even to Rome's greatest generals, reinforcing the idea that Genghis Khan represented a power far beyond their grasp. Even centuries after the Roman Empire's fall, the specter of Genghis Khan's empire influenced European perceptions of Eastern powers. The Mongols' expansion into Europe disrupted trade routes, shattered kingdoms, and introduced a level of fear reminiscent of the invasions that marked Rome's decline. For a Europe still steeped in Roman traditions, Genghis Khan was not just a conqueror, but a symbol of the fragility of civilization against the tides of history. In conclusion, while the Romans themselves never directly feared Genghis Khan, their ideological and cultural successors did. The Mongol conquests evoked memories of the great threats Rome had faced and surpassed, but with an intensity and scale that surpassed even the Huns or Goths. Genghis Khan's empire, with its unprecedented reach and impact, embodied a force that transcended the boundaries of Roman imagination, leaving a legacy of fear that echoed across centuries. Make sure to subscribe for more interesting content.